Now, the show dedicated to rebuilding Washington, D.C.'s metropolitan housing and credit markets with the timely, trusted advice you need to make the right decisions. This is the Todd Laborowitz Show.
Good afternoon. As your friend and host, Todd Laborowitz, I'm privileged to share every Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. with you on the Todd Laborowitz Show, which is part of the Real Estate Radio Network here on Salem Broadcast WRC 1260 AM. And right now, moving forward in the studio with us is Justin Pierce. He's president of Goose Homes. They're out of Woodbridge, Virginia. They're about real estate investing and home solutions. Justin also writes for the Washington Post. He's got interesting articles. One was called Rent-to-Own Deals Can Be Tricky for Buyers and Sellers. Good deals can be had when purchasing a renovated home, but be wary. Take caution at a real estate auction. These are a lot of good questions that I'd like to get into. But first, Justin, welcome to the show.
All right, thanks for having me.
No problem. Now, how'd you get the gig with Washington Post? You got some great articles here that really digs into questions that I get all the time.
Well, I just pretty much kind of put myself out there with doing some writing for some other outfits, being present, in the industry, the local industry. And from basically out of nowhere, one of the editors at the Post reached out and said they needed a real estate investor writer. And so, of course, I jumped on it.
I mean, that's a great accomplishment to have.
Yeah.
I mean, the material is wonderful. How can our listeners get in touch with this material? Is it just Google your name or?
But yeah, if you go to the Washington Post, the online section, just go to the real estate. There's a real estate tab at the top there. I mean, I've got it at my homepage because if you're interested in local real estate, that's all the Post is writing about. If you're looking at general real estate, most of the other resources out there give more of a national flavor, and really when you're trying to do real estate, it's extremely local, so you need to find local sources.
And that's the whole basis of this show, is being local.
Right.
Because everyone's getting advice around the country and it's not hitting the local service.
Absolutely.
So how did you get into real estate and investing in this company? What's your background?
Well, actually, I joined the Marine Corps out of high school. And I always kind of saw myself as being like a door kicker. I went as a MP, and I ended up going into the counterintelligence field. But I just started investing basically to build a portfolio of stocks and that sort of thing. And I just kind of keyed in on real estate as being a great investment and fell in love with it. And, rather than doing a law enforcement or one of those other fields, I much prefer putting together a hot deal, finding solutions.
Now, Justin, what I see is people, and what you're doing is you're buying a property, you're fixing it up, and then you're selling it. And you're using private investors?
A lot of private money.
Okay.
Local banks as well, but a lot of private money.
Okay. And I see people all the time like, ugly houses we buy, do this, that, and it's kind of it seems a little scary.
Yes.
People under distress.
Absolutely.
Tell us your business model. What makes you different than your competition?
Right. Well, writing in the Post, I actually try to keep myself from getting into debates with some of the commenters on there because they're always talking about underhanded real estate investors, and I just had to kind of accept that there are actually a lot of underhanded things going on out there. Really, when we go and make an offer on a house, I just tell the people up front, what I'm offering, and then it's not a solution for everybody, for sure. In fact, I'm not even really messing with the MLS and what's, actually active posts out there. I'm direct mailing, using internet advertising, trying to find people that actually need this kind of service they need out of their house. For whatever reason, and they need that fast. I haven't dealt with very many people who are in a stressed situation where they just absolutely had to sell. For the most part, I'm dealing with people who inherited a home, or they had moved somewhere else, or they just had a bunch of equity and they just didn't want to mess with real estate agents. They didn't want to hassle with home inspectors. They knew the house needed a whole bunch of work. Because when I first go in there, to most people, in our initial conversations, when I get the information about the house, I'll tell them, hey, you're going to get more money for this house if you just go get a real estate agent and price it. And I am a licensed real estate agent as well, so I can give them all that information. That saves me a lot of time too, because if I go out there and give them my number and I know they're not in that market, then I've just wasted a lot of time.
Now, by the way, if you're just turning in, I have with me Justin Pierce, president of Snow Goose Homes, LLC. I'm your host, Todd Laborowitz, and you're listening to Salem Broadcast Network, WRC 1260. Now, Justin, I hear that you're going after these homeowners that aren't really in distress. They're coming from different avenues to you, right. And you're being upfront with them, because not a lot of people like yourself are so you're on the newspaper, you're on a radio show right now. Yeah. You're speaking from the heart of what's going on.
Right.
Now, what I noticed is we had a real estate roundtable the other day, had a whole bunch of real estate agents in, talk about hot topics, safe place.
Right.
One of the things that they mentioned was there's a lot of people out there that are buying properties, fixing them up, and then selling them, and then the person that walks in and sees the new countertops and the new stainless steel appliances are buying this property because they feel like, oh, this is beautiful, and then a couple years down the road, the property starts falling apart because they just put this little facade on to make it look good and hit all the buttons that someone's looking for when they're buying a new house.
Right.
And the solution that they came up with at the round table was to look into the person that actually bought it, fixed it up, and try to see where their reputation is.
Right.
And if they only did one or two, stay away from them.
Yeah.
If they're ones that actually put some passion and some real honesty into fixing up a property, can you kind of go into more length about that? Because there is a lot of competition out there. Everyone's mother, brother, and cousin is trying to do it.
Absolutely. And I wrote something in the post about people really need to be careful getting into this market now. 2 or 3 years ago was a great market. This market was great for anybody to come in and flip homes. Now it's really tight, and the competition is tough. And to your point, there are a lot of people out there that are just cutting corners because the market's getting tighter, and the fact that our purchase prices are going up. Where we're buying the homes as renovators is going up a lot faster than actually the resale values are. So a lot of these guys who just saw seminars are buying homes, they're paying too much for them, and then they're doing the work themselves, and they're cutting corners to try to get a profit in there somewhere. What you can do as a home buyer is, make sure the permits have been pulled. I mean, if they just did a carpet and paint job, there won't be permits, but for the most part, most of the flips that I've seen, something should have been done to been pulled permits. Next good thing to do is find out who is the actual contractor, because for the most part, most of us don't do the work ourselves. Find out not only who the seller is, but who the contractor was that did that work. See if they'll warranty their work, if their warranty conveys to you, that sort of thing.
Now, as far as a real estate agent, it's also, if they don't dig in and search, then they don't really have to disclose. So this is something that the person that's actually looking to buy a property should do their own investigation.
Right.
Because it's not saying that it's right, not saying that it's wrong, but just...
Yeah. Well, and to anyone who's going to flip homes too, that's not a safe out either. Just because you sell the home, you don't get to run away once closing is over. I mean, it's tough for someone to come back at you, but it is still possible, particularly if you're knowingly doing underhanded stuff. So real estate agents and buyers just really have to do a lot of due diligence. Make sure you have a good real estate agent. Make sure you have a good home inspector. Make sure your home inspector has their permits and, work history, a background as well.
And what are some red flags if someone was looking into it? I know one, you can go on a website for your county, find out how many times the property has been sold or for how much.
Yeah, I mean, all the counties have, you can pull up permits on there. The fact that it's been flipped is kind of a red flag already. Just get your home inspector in there and make sure the work's been done well.
Yeah. Well, Justin, what I'd like to do is, you're very knowledgeable about this and your heart's in the right place.
Right.
And we need more people like you.
Thank you.
How can people get in touch with you if they're interested in...
Yep. And we don't just buy homes. We buy land. We're building specs, that sort of things. But they can go to my website at www.snowgoosehomes.com. topaz.com is probably the best way.
Okay, and then you can find your Washington Post articles.
Yep.
Well, thanks for being here, Justin.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And coming up next, we have Mark Dubic from Dubal, LLC. We'll be right back after these messages.
You don't go through life with a paralyzing fear every time you have a financial transaction. So why is applying for a mortgage so scary? At Topaz Mortgage with Todd Laborwit, it is about educating and empowering you to get from point A to point B. Todd provides you with his exact closing cost, best interest rate, then invites you to shop around. Plus, if you call with questions, Todd picks up with the answers. Learn more at whytopaz.com. They are industry experts that care. Topaz Mortgage, NMLS 131548, licensed by the Virginia State Corporation Commission, NC 5344, Washington, D.C., MLB 131548, Maryland 18330, Todd Laborwit, NMLS 131497.